Welcome to the trade recap for the week of December 13th. Today we're going to dive into a number of morning panics again. And we've just had so many these last few weeks. I want to give everyone a special gift related to morning panics just for the December season. You just got to watch till the end of the video and I'll go into all the details there. The first stock we're going to look at happened on Tuesday, December 14th. This was a listed panic. It happened on AMC. The setup here was there were a bunch of red days before a massive bounce day, and you had this massive sell-off to this previous resistance level. The February blow-off top went up to 2036, and on this day AMC panicked to 2027. That was its low in pre-market. So because it went just under that level on massive volume, this day was starting off as being the fourth red day. I know that's low odds. I know there's that massive support from February. So I'm going in hard for a big bounce. The pre-market was the time to enter, and then entering on these perks here, and then once it opened, it bounced. There's been so many plays that have their lows set in pre-market and then bounce off that, and they don't go lower during the regular market hours. That's the only reason I was getting in pre-market, because I know that happens a lot of the times. And then when the market opened, I was able to get in some $23 calls. The panic on AMC was 40.2% from these highs all the way down here. And the bounce on that day was 23.9%. I saw that the volume was really there at the open. The volume didn't just stop. It continued into the opening candle. So that's where I bought all those calls, and on this day, green red was around 23.30. That was green red at that level. So I was aiming for the bounce to cross over that level. So I was aiming for 23.44 as my target. The calls I was exiting a bit earlier just because I don't want to be holding on to them for a long time. I just want to get the meat of the move and get out. I was selling the calls in the mid 22s, so I was selling them here. Mid 22s from mid 20s, that's around a 10% bounce. So those calls did appreciate a fair amount. I think I got 50% on the calls, and then I sold the remaining of my dip buy just over the red green level. And the reason for that is that I know that AMC has the momentum to really push through red green, but I did not know whether it had the momentum to sustain over it. So I didn't want to pick a target like 24 because it was so far away above the red green level. I just wanted to pick a target that was just over the red green level because I had a good feeling it could get up there. The next stock we're going to look at is SIDU. This happened on the same day. This was actually a IPO halter. I do not want to call this a supernova halter because it didn't have a supernova. It just kind of dumped, big dump. The chart was looking really good. I believe I was getting in on around this area. You got the increased volume there. You had it crossing over this trend line right here, this green candle. and this was a clear reversal. Unfortunately, this did not bounce like at all. A reason for that might have been that the market was really pulling on that day. The panic on SIDU was 59.2%, and the bounce here was 19.7%. No, these usually bounce, but in this case it didn't. So this is an example of a trade that should have worked out, a setup that should have worked out, that usually works out, but this is that 1 in 10 time where it just doesn't bounce. And that's why having a stop is so important. That's why it's so important to not overtrade. That's why it's so important to know your approximate risk when you're entering. And you just got to be okay with cutting it and not trying to dip buy it again. When it clearly tells you that it's not going to bounce, you just got to walk away with it, take the L, and then regroup for the next trade whenever it comes. Final stock we're going to look at is OTC Morning Panic, dip buy. These are my favorites. You look at the long-term chart. This is obviously a China pump and dump. These tend to sell off hard, but if it's an OTC, they do tend to have a bounce. You just got to know when to get in. And in this case, you should have been watching level 2. I was watching level 2, but not close enough. With this stock, what happened was the sell-off looked very clean initially, so I was dip buying at the 10 level because you had these volume spikes. It was turning, and so I was buying there. But this turned out to be a fake out, which was really surprising because these whole numbers tend to hold. So I had to cut under 10. It's definitely a choppy and a liquid panic, so this is a little tougher to trade. It is tradable. You just have to be really paying close attention to level 2. I ended up trading this more like a listed panic, which was my mistake, and I did get caught in the falling knife. This one did cut me. I had a loss here, I had a loss on here, and then I had a loss just around here. So I almost caught the bottom, but I didn't. I had 3 losses, and I don't want to try a 4th time because now I'm just over trading. But if you were able to get the bottom here, the bottom was at just under 6, so it was 5.96. That's where the bottom was. It did end up bouncing to 12, which is a massive gain. That's an incredible bounce, way more than I thought it would bounce. So the panic here was 67.8% from the top to the bottom, and then the bounce here was 101%. And for these types of trades, I use a spreadsheet with formulas on it, just so I can keep my risk tight, so I can keep my position tight, so that I know exactly what I'm doing when I'm trading these, because these are very quick, these are very tough. You don't want to be calculating your risk on the calculator when things are moving. So you really need a spreadsheet for these. So because the stock was so liquid, you weren't able to get a very large position, but you were still able to size in pretty well. 1% of the volume at the bottom here is around 1,000 shares. You were able to get in 1,000 shares max. The stock is liquid enough to have that position size. So that would have been around a $6,000 position. So if you were able to trade the max size and get it on the bottom, that's a few grand gain if you ride it all the way to the top. Now, obviously, you don't want to ride it to the top. Obviously, you want to have some sort of place that you know you're going to take profits, because there's no guarantee it's going to bounce double from the bottom. And obviously, there's liquidity concerns with this stock, and you shouldn't hold it that long. You should sell it into strength, relative strength, some volume. You couldn't really play it down short. There was just not enough volume here. The next day, it also had a panic. However, this one was just way too liquid for me. Like, look at these candles. I tried playing it on Thursday. It was so choppy. I took 3 losses on it. I know if I try to play it on Friday, when it's even less volume, that is going to be even tougher to read. So that's why I didn't trade it that day. In the spirit of the December holiday season, I'd like to offer everyone a free gift. And recently it was my birthday, and my girlfriend got me this amazing model of one of my biggest trades. It was a panic dip buy, and that was one of my first 5-figure trades. So I am so excited that I got that as my birthday gift that I want to give all my viewers an amazing gift too. So what this is, it's morning panic dip buy calculator. So the first thing we focus on obviously is risk. So you type in what you want to risk in the top here, and what this affects is your position size. So depending on how much money you're willing to risk, your position size in blue changes. Let's keep it at $10. This is the top of the panic. So, the morning highs, this is what you put in. These are the morning highs. This is what the panic bottom is. You won't know when the panic bottom is until it bounces. So usually you're constantly changing this number when it appears to bottom. Always make sure to watch level 2 when you're trading OTCs and not just reading the chart. Level 2 is crucial. This is a percentage panic. All these values that are colored, you don't have to edit. Those are calculated. So you have your position size. This price is where you don't want to get in. So if you have a limit order, don't make it higher than this price because your risk reward will be under 1 and you'll have bad odds. Your losses will be massive and your gain will be good enough to justify the dip buy. This is the target price. It's simply based on years of data. So this is coming out of my statistics I've tracked for over 4 years. And this formula has worked over 70% of the time this year. So a pretty good success rate. You can use that as a target price. You could undershoot it, overshoot it, depending on the chart pattern. But this is the general target price that I use. And then you have your estimated risk on the trade. This is the average loss I've experienced for every buy I've done at the percent panic level. So for 30% panic, I've had an average loss of almost 9%. For 40% panic, I've had an average loss of 10%. For 50% panic, I've had an average loss of 11%. So that's where that comes in. This is your percent reward. This is calculating using the bottom. Obviously, your entry probably won't be at the exact bottom, but this is a useful guideline, and this is your dollar reward. This is if you get on the bottom and then exit at the target, and then risk reward. Very important. For these plays, I like to keep it between 2 and 3. Some important considerations to keep in mind is that for OTC morning panics, you should only buy them when this percent panic turns green. That's green light to panic to buy. Read the level 2. The OTC panics that I trade, they all have to be over $1. Under $1 doesn't work that well. Another important point is that this only works for panics that happen before 11 a.m. If it happens after 11 a.m., it probably won't bounce. I want you to use this tool not as a guarantee of trading OTC morning panics, but as a tool to up your game a little bit. So if you already suck at trading morning panics, this is not going to make you better. But if you're already good at it, this might give you a little bit more of an edge. It's simply a tool to help you out. So the download link for this is below. Keep in mind, this is not financial advice, nor is it financial software. I'm not implying any warranties or guarantees that this will work for you. This is simply something to help you out. Educational purposes only. It's not a guarantee.